The Denver Broncos are trying to get to that level. They got a new coach, of course, in Sean Payton. Let's welcome to the program my main man, Brandon Krisztal, sports anchor and reporter for KOA Colorado. Just came off the field, did you not, Brandon, from Broncos OTAs? I mean, obviously, the rest of the league is trying to catch up with the Chiefs, but obviously the AFC West first and foremost. Bro, I really like what the Broncos have done this offseason. I like their draft. I like the offseason signing of Zach Allen from Arizona, and I love having Sean Payton at the helm. So, like, just generally speaking, like, what's the energy around the Broncos in terms of the facility and really the fan base right now?
Well, it's hard to put into words exactly the feel around here because in the Sean Payton era, we don't get to hang out here very much. We have a radio studio here that we get to use from time to time, but this is the first time I've been in here in a while. It used to have our station logo right here. It is now just the Broncos radio studio, even though this is all of our equipment in here and all of that. That being said, and by the way, great to join both you guys. It's going to be a lot of fun talking with you. Sean is from the Bill Parcells tree, and you guys, of course, are familiar with Bill Belichick and how he operates. What I think everybody around here didn't realize, because Sean's so affable and will go on these long stories or these long, rants, or if you will, veering here and there to tell a story, he still doesn't want to give you anything. So we can't tweet during practice. Apparently there's a little too much tweeting in the rookie minicamp. And Damari Mathis had an interception today for a touchdown. We can't tell you who the quarterback was. You could guess. I'm not going to get in trouble because I don't want it to be a big deal. But so in the Sean Payton era, Sean's around. Russell Wilson is at Nuggets games. I know we'll get to the Nuggets here in a bit, but they are operating in darkness, right? The old Lil Wayne line, right? Real G's moving silence like lasagna.
Silence like lasagna. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's exactly who Sean Payton wants to be. And the only person that really is allowed to talk for the most part is Sean. It's one of those things where I was talking with somebody the other day about the way they kind of tamp the players down. And we haven't heard. This is the first time we talked to Russell Wilson since Sean was hired. I've seen him in a couple Nuggets games and said hi to him. But this is the first time on the record that he talked today. And he said, he gave you the typical cliche. Great to have him. One of the greatest coaches of all time. Exactly what you would expect. Yeah. Right. We didn't get a Let's Ride. We got to go Nuggets as he got off the podium. Let's Ride, I think, has been put to bed for a while. Okay. So
because
they're
that's
just
what I
trying
like
to
about
operate
it.
quietly.
Well, and I like that, Michael. No, I'm sorry, Brandon. I was going to say to Michael, I like that because juxtapose that with last offseason. Where it was nothing but hype and nothing about, like, it was a quarterback away, and that all blew up in their face, Michael.
Well, Brandon, I do want to ask about the guy you mentioned, Russell Wilson, because last year it looked like he was done. It did. I never thought I'd say that about Russell, but he looked so bad last year. Was this a scheme thing, or did you have that thought too that, oh, wow, the Broncos got a guy who doesn't have it anymore?
Here's where I didn't fully believe that he was done or washed, right? We saw those tweets really from the jump. He played okay on that Monday night game in Seattle, but by the time, Michael, you were here with Thursday Night Football, which was week 5 against the Colts, and he throws that terrible interception. All of a sudden, and they didn't play great against the Niners. They snuck past the Niners, didn't play great. You're like, is he maybe done? And then you realize as you start to unpack everything, Nathaniel Hackett was maybe in a little bit over his head, hired an inexperienced staff where almost nobody had that specific job prior. The receivers coach and the DBs coach were the only people that had held that exact role. So you had everybody in the building was new. And Russ, who had a lot of this freedoms in Seattle in terms of people in the building at times, and then Pete and John Schneider would rein it back in, kind of got the keys to the castle and took advantage of it, and I think was trying to maybe do a little too much. And Nathaniel Hackett at the same time was looking over there going, I have Russell Wilson, so they're in the red zone, and 15 of the first 18 plays inside the 10-yard line for the season were passes. It should have been 16. Russ checked out a one to a run that led to a fumble on Monday Night Football because of miscommunication, but I think it was just not the right mix. And so kind of also answering your first question, because expectations were so high with Nathaniel Hackett and Russ together, they've now been dropped down to, can we just be 500? Man, the playoffs would be nice. We're so far away from the Chiefs on paper, if you will. Even though they've played the Chiefs as tough as anybody in the Patrick Mahomes era, nonetheless, they haven't beaten them in, I think, 15 tries, which is crazy. So I don't think Russ is washed. At the end of the year, when you had the interim head coach, all of a sudden they pared everything down. They handed the ball off a lot more. And maybe that's the one other storyline from the biggest storyline we're allowed to talk about. Javonte Williams, 7 months after ripping his knee up, maybe even a little shy of that, and doing a lot of damage, so we were told, is out there today with a knee brace, with the helmet on, not going full speed, but clearly ahead of the schedule. And so with him and Samaje Perine, do they add one more veteran back perhaps? We thought it might be Latavius Murray coming back. It might make Russ's life a lot easier, and he's got a pretty nice stable of receivers still.
So you guys are used to the Broncos being successful, obviously not so much recently, but more or less. You got a standard of expectation there. Nuggets, meanwhile, uncharted territory right now. First finals appearance in franchise history. And I told Michael this before, I know Michael as well, we've enjoyed watching the Joker get the last laugh. Because, rarely does any team, let alone a number one seed with a two-time MVP, get to legitimately play the no respect card. The Nuggets and their fan base can legitimately play the nobody outside of this locker room believed in us card. So what is it like for this region, this fan base, this community to be able to sit back, kick up their feet, and bask in the glow of being in the finals, having swept the Lakers while these little Eastern Conference teams kind of figure it out, and just be like, the longest I told you so tour in recent memory on the part of Nuggets and their fans. What's this like for Nuggets, the Nuggets Nation?
It's been really exciting, and it's going to just keep building. They get 9 full days from when they sweep the Lakers, the monster, the dragon, if you will, that they could never beat. 7 times in the playoffs. They were 0-7, including in 3 conference finals in the 80s with Dan Issel and Alex English, 0-9 with Carmelo and Chauncey Billups. They kept throwing the ball to Trevor Ariza on inbounds plays 2 games in a row. That was maybe their best team. That's what George Karl will tell you. And then in the bubble in 2020, they made a nice run. Jamal Murray goes nuts, and they still obviously come up short against LeBron and AD. So they get to slay that dragon and now just kind of wait. They thought they're going to see the Heat, and maybe they still will, right? We have yet to see someone come back from down 0-3, but you guys are very familiar with the one team that's done it in baseball in recent memory, and I'm sure I saw where Bill Simmons said that he loved seeing the 0-4 Red Sox pop up on the screen there in L.A. We know that that's going to happen tonight in Boston, right? There's no way they're not going to have do we know if Kevin Millar or Johnny Damon's going to be there courtside?
Pedro.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
So, yeah, of course. Big Papi, I'm sure, is available to come by and get the crowd fired up. But assuming it's still Miami, regardless of how long this series plays out, either way, they get to rest, recover. They've been fine with a little bit of extra rest. They kind of shut things down late in the year. Then they had the the play-in game break. And so they're remarkably healthy, and they're just kind of showing the rest of the basketball world that Nikola Jokic may not be the flashiest superstar, but he doesn't play just like Tim Duncan. There's a little more to his game than just the boring, methodical approach that Tim Duncan gave us for all those Hall of Fame years.
Well, that's what I want to get to is Jokic, and he's been the MVP. He's not an overnight sensation. We know his story. Now being recognized as best player in the world, but now being on the biggest stage, I wonder what that's going to do for his reputation. But first, here's what the GOAT had to say about Jokic. And Michael, you could take it out of this.
I know how great Joker is. Certain guys in this league that play the game a certain way that I like to play the game as well. And he's one of them. Where you are always off balance when you guard a player like that because of his ability to score, rebound, shoot. He sees plays before they happen. There's not many guys in our league like that. So you already knew you was going against a beast once the series started. And not only just about his game, everybody gets cracked up into his stats, but I don't think a lot of people talk about like this part of his game. Well, maybe it's not talked about because a lot of people don't understand it. But I do. He's special.
Ooh, high praise from LeBron James. And I want to ask you something in a second. I just want to point out, you mentioned David Ortiz. You said David Ortiz might be available. Look, David Ortiz is available for anything free. I'm just going to put that out there. You got something free, David Ortiz is going to be there, whether it has historical implications or not. He's just that dude. But I want to ask you, like LeBron is talking about Jokic, and I always want to know for teams that don't get the respect that they deserve, and I think Denver is in that category. What is one thing about tell us something about the Nuggets, maybe even beyond Jokic, that is core to what they do that people outside of Colorado don't even realize. Just tell us one thing that we should be looking for that we're not looking for.
Well, I'm hoping that this story gets told a little more publicly, and you can do some searching online. Aaron Gordon, who I believe is single, has plenty of money, but has this, I don't know if he actually lives there full time, but has a full-blown clubhouse, warehouse thing with cars and a full-court basketball court. I think Bones Highland had some Instagram posts when they were working out in the offseason when he was still with the team, and a bunch of guys were there, and they played all these video games there. Is that this team is remarkably close, and you guys have covered championship teams and understand that unspoken bond where these guys not only love being at work together, but when the Nuggets are on the road, they'll go to movies or go out like in double digits. That Joker may not be out all the time. He just kind of keeps to himself a little bit and hangs with his family and his brothers who are seemingly everywhere with him, and his wife and kiddo at home. But that these guys love being around each other. And you can't really put a value on that when they not only want to hang out at the office, so to speak, but whenever they hit the road are still hanging out, or when they're in town in Denver are still going to dinner together or doing whatever, going out, having a pop or two, or shooting some pool, or playing video games together, even when they're in their own separate houses. That this is a remarkably close team. And Aaron Gordon, in some respects, is a ringleader, but then guys like Jeff Green and DeAndre Jordan help facilitate that, as does Ish Smith. And you've got this, core group of young, talented players in their prime, and then old guys and really young guys, and it's just kind of the perfect mix. So I'm hoping that story gets told, and maybe this is the first place that will start to take off.
Brandon, we appreciate you, brother, man. Thanks for joining us with some Rocky Mountain High knowledge. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right, man. Talk to you again
Brandon.
soon.
Hey, thank you for watching Brother from Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget, you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.